Hello everyone, Alex here again, and welcome to the third part of my AI cursor thing series. So on the first video, I went ahead and created a project using best practices with cursor. Like I had to tell cursor exactly what the best practices were because it wasn't smart enough. But then on the second one, I used that GitHub repo that I generated in the first video to try to tell cursor to just generate another project with best practices basing on that GitHub repo. It didn't work. So on this third try, I generated some MuleSoft best practices, just instructions on what to tell cursor to do. So we're gonna use this cursor rules file and we're gonna put it in our Mule project and see if that works, if that makes it better. So, okay, I am in my GitHub and I created this gist file, which is an MDC file. So these are the rules that I generated so far. This is just like the basic stuff, I guess. And I also generated some of these with cursor because like I was asking cursor to do things. It was either doing them or not. And then like through trial and error, it was finally able to do it for me. So then I asked it to like keep adding rules to this file every time that it learned something about what I was telling it to do. So we generated this together and I'm gonna use this now. All right, so let's go to cursor here. Let's just get started in, new update available, not right now. I don't know, just in like my home, because it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna create a new thing. Sure. So let's go to Anypoint Code Builder. Oh my god, yes, stop. Anypoint Code Builder. By the way, you can pin Anypoint Code Builder here if you just like click on this pin right here. For example, like this, you can pin it to the top. Anyway, we are here. Let's develop an integration. For now, I don't need you because I'm gonna start from scratch. So let's do testing cursor rules. And let's put this in downloads. Select empty project 4.9, latest 17, create project. Okay, so from what we've seen, it's not gonna open this for me, so I just have to go to file open and go to downloads and select the testing cursor rules that I just created and open. And now I will be able to be inside my thingy. Okay, so it generated my project and now I'm gonna start, what do I want to do? I'm just gonna close this and leave this here. Maybe zoom out a little bit. So let's see. Create an create a flow with an HTTP listener and a transform message that outputs the hello world string as text. Okay, let's try this and see if it follows the best practices of like creating the global elements in another file. Oh, wait, but I didn't add the rules. Okay, so, well, at least this helps as a test. Like it created the thing here, it didn't add properties, right? So, okay, let's reject this. And I'm gonna add the rules. How did I add the rules again? Was it here? Yeah, here, add context, cursor rules, and then add new rule. So I'm gonna call it MuleSoft best practices. Enter, and now you have the thing here. So now if I go to this other file, I can just copy this whole thing and paste it here. Yes. So save. Okay. And now let's ask this thing again. Send. And now let's see if it follows the best practices. Okay. Would you like me to make these changes to follow best practices? Yes. Okay, so, okay. It created the global.xml. Cool. And it added the thing. And then it's going to create the properties file. And then it changed the main file to remove the thing that it moved to the global properties. Okay, so let's take it one at a time. So it edited 3 files. Oh wait, it forgot the dep properties. So it created the global.xml, and it has the configuration properties, env properties.yaml, it matches here. Global property env local, that's what I wanted it to do. The HTTP listener with the host and port. Okay, so this is, yes, this is what I wanted. Cool, one down. And then we have the testing cursor rules. So this one, and it just has the flow with the HTTP listener, path hello, set payload value, hello world, MIME type, to explain. Yeah, pretty much. And finally, it only created the local properties files, but it did add the properties as strings, which is one of the rules. Somewhere, string, yeah. All values in YAML properties files should be strings, including numeric values. For example, use port instead of port 8081 with like quotes. So that was one of the rules, and it followed it, which is awesome. But you did not create... I mean, it makes sense that it created the local properties only. Okay, I'm gonna let it slide. But let me see. Did I ask to have local and dev? Configuration properties should be stored in YAML files with the naming convention. The environment variable emb. Oh, I didn't ask it to do several. Okay. That's fair. That is fair. Because I didn't tell it that I wanted it to have also like a dev properties. But I'm sure if I ask it to do it, can you also add a dev properties file for when I deploy it to the cloud? Yep, it created the dev properties.yaml. Didn't change anything else, just that. So accept. And here's the dev properties. It has the same thing as the YAML, as the local. So cool. This works as it should. Well, it pretty much is following best practices, and I only had to use two. I added one for dev. I'm sure like I can keep adding like the same thing, just like QA or prod or so on. But it added the whole thing, and I just needed one single thing. So create a flow with an HTTP listener and a transfer message. I did ask for a transform message and it gave me a set payload, but that's fine. We can ask it to reconsider. The output's a hello world string as text. Okay. You created a set payload component, but I asked you for a transform message component. Okay. So now it changed it to have the transform message. All right, so we can see if this is what we wanted. DW output text line, hello world. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted. Oh, I'm missing one thing though, the POM. Hello world. I am using an HTTP listener. And it was not added to the POM as a dependency. And I believe this is in the rules. Or not? Did I not add it to the rules? Dependency. Yeah, when adding dependencies to the POM, ensure the version is compatible. Oh, always verify connector. Oh, okay, it's not in the rules. Fair, fair. Okay, so let me tell it. You added an HTTP listener component to my project, but you did not add the dependency in the POM file. Close. But that's not what I wanted. I don't want this. I don't want this. No, I don't want this. I don't want this. I wanted this. Okay, no, reject. You know what? What if I try to run it and I will receive the error? Did I reject the files? Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna try to run it. Then I will receive the error that the dependency was not added. Then I'm gonna tell it to like fix it. And then I'm gonna tell it to add the rule if it's not there already. Okay, can't resolve this thing, a dependency or plugin might be missing. Okay, let me just copy the whole error and put it here. Okay, see the error, the issue is that we need to add the HTTP connector dependency to the POM file. Yep, that is what I wanted, but I don't think that is compatible, or maybe it is. I use version 1.8.0, one of the HTTP connector, which is compatible with Mule 4.4.0, the runtime version specified in the Mule artifact. That is not true, though. Nope. The error you were seeing was because the HTTP connector dependency was missing, which is required, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Why do you say Mule 4.4.0 is the runtime version I'm using, though? Yep. Could not find. Oh. Okay. No, you're wrong. I'm gonna accept the POM change, but I'm not gonna accept the Mule artifact. So the Mule artifact.json file is located in the root folder, not inside source. Okay. It's already in the POM, blah, blah, blah. The correct HTTP connector dependency. Okay. Can you add this information to the rules file? It might or might not add it, to be honest. Because when I was trying it, sometimes it added it and sometimes it didn't. But we can just, oh, editing, yes. We can just add it ourselves, see if it doesn't actually add it. I see that the rules file already contains the relevant information about Mule runtime version. Okay, so it already includes it. Matching Mule runtime versions between POM and let me just tell it Mule artifact.json. Located at the root directory. Yeah, I can add that. Okay. So then why didn't you follow the rule if it was already there? But okay. All right, that's fine. Let me try to run it as is and see if it's actually compatible. And if it isn't, then I will have to go back. Because like maybe the version, what was it? 180? Yeah, 180. Maybe the version 180 is the minimum required. So let's see if that is the case. Because maybe it is a minimum required. Because I've been using 110.3, which is the latest version, but maybe like 180 is a minimum required, and then you can like change it. All right, so it was able to build it. Let's see if it is able to deploy it. And it failed because it is not supported. Extension HTTP does not support Java 17. Supported versions are 1.8 and 11. All right, so let's tell our agent about this. Or like, can it just go? The deployment failed. Can you see what went wrong? The Mule artifact specifies Java 17, but we haven't configured the Java version in the POM. I don't think that's the case, but okay. Fine, I'm gonna let you do whatever you think you need to do. Added Java 17 configuration. Added Mule runtime version configuration. Added required dependencies. No, that's not it. Okay, so you're not smart enough to like go and check the compatibility. That's fair. I mean, you did add. Wait, what if when adding dependencies to the POM, ensure the version is compatible with the Mule runtime version specified in Mule artifact.json. Let me remove this. And is compatible with the Java version specified in the same file. And let me add this. Whenever Mule runtime version is added, Mule artifact. Is there any other Mule artifact? No. Okay. All right, so like, as you can see, you can play around with this and see whatever works best for you. For now, I'm just gonna let it be. And I'm gonna modify the version myself. Project properties. I'm sure MuleSoft is gonna be releasing an MCP server soon, so you won't have to do all of this manually because it will be smart enough, hopefully, to already know all of these things. But yeah, 1.10.3. And you saw there, right? So, like, connector version is not compatible with project's Java version. So let's just select that one, apply. And if I check my POM now, I should be able to see my, where is the thing? Dependencies, 1.10.3. But wait, Mule Maven plugin version. Oh, yeah, that doesn't matter. Okay, let's try this again. This should work now because I did it myself, but okay. And yep, it was deployed. So now I'm gonna tell it to call this app with a curl command. Yep. And we do receive the hello world. So perfect. We made it work. And like, as you saw, we had to do a few changes, but I'm sure like MuleSoft is going to be releasing an MCP server soon. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but like it would be really cool. But since like everyone is doing it, I don't see why MuleSoft wouldn't do it. But yeah, like I asked one thing, which was to create this flow with the HTTP and with the transfer message. It did create a set payload component instead of the transfer message, but that's okay. I just told it to like change it, and it changed it. And then the HTTP listener global configuration was added immediately. Well, not immediately. I had to tell it to like follow the best practices, but it was added to the global.xml. And then it was also smart enough to follow the best practices of creating the global property env local, which is what I told it to do in the rules. And then the configuration properties to follow the best practices that I had told it to follow. And here is the HTTP listener. And it also was smart enough to move the HTTP host and HTTP port into the property. So it did create only one local properties.yaml file. Because I told it to use YAML instead of properties. And also here, once it added the values, instead of leaving them as numeric, it changed them to strings because otherwise it would fail, which I already knew about. And that is why it's on the best practices thing. And then it didn't create the dep properties because I didn't add that rule to my best practices thing. I only said to create the local properties. So I just asked it to create the dep properties and it added it with the same configuration. So way better, in summary, way better. And if we can like take one moment to take a look at this. So all the global element configurations have to go inside a global XML file unless a different name is provided for this file. Properties like host and port should not be hard-coded in the XML files. These values should be referenced from a or property files. Whenever a Mule runtime version is added to the POM XML file, this version has to match the version from the Mule artifact JSON file located at the root directory. This is what I added because apparently didn't know what the Mule artifact was. Always make sure the properties files added to the project are being correctly configured with configuration properties global element. When adding dependencies to the POM XML, ensure the version is compatible with the Mule runtime version specified in Mule artifact file, again located at the root directory, and that it's compatible with the Java version specified in the same file. It did not listen to me on this one. Well, it wasn't there. I didn't have the Java version, so I didn't test that. Hopefully that works. Always verify connector compatibility by checking the official MuleSoft documentation before adding or updating dependencies. I don't know if it actually did this, but in one of the tests that I had previously done before recording this video, it actually went there, so hopefully it will continue to go there. When determining the latest compatible version of a connector, always check the MuleSoft Maven repository to find the actual latest available version. Do not assume version numbers or make up version numbers, because it was doing that before, so I had to add that rule. Configuration properties should be stored in YAML files with the naming convention env properties YAML. And there are two examples. The configuration properties module must be added to the POM XML with the correct version. I think this one is not needed. No, I think this one is not needed. Anyway, the configuration properties element in global XML should use the format, because that was a thing that we had, because I think it was using like the Mule 3 kind of configuration properties. I don't know. So it added this rule itself. The environment variable env should be set as global property in global.xml with a default value like env local. All values in YAML properties files should be strings, including numeric values, for example, this. And this is also a rule that it added itself. And finally, the gitignore file must include entries for IDE-specific files like VS Code and test sources like source test resources embedded to prevent them from being committed to the repository. That is a rule that I told it to remember, so it added the rule there. Okay, so that was it. I think it was pretty cool. I think we made a lot of progress with that. So here's the file. I just went ahead and added the revisions that I just did. I can continue updating this with whatever I see that is needed. So you can always come and reference to this file. So if you go to my, actually, I think I pinned it. Yeah, if you go to my actual profile in github.com/Alexander Martinez, you can scroll down after all of these things, and here pinned, you will be able to see the use this cursor rules files for your MuleSoft project thingy. And here you can find the file that I was just referencing to. So, okay, there is where you can find it. And yeah, feel free to write stuff, leave me a comment of something that I should change or that works best for you. And that's all for this video. So in conclusion, the GitHub repo didn't work for the best practices, but this rules file actually worked for implementing the best practices and telling it what to do. And the other fun thing that I was seeing is that because it is here in your repo, in like .cursor/rules, you have them here. You can like list more of them if you want. And you can just commit them to your repo so they will always be there, and anyone that uses your repo will be able to reuse these. So that's really cool. There's also like a global file where you can get all of these rules in all of your projects, but I just figured it was easier to get it here because it's like more accessible and more visible from the project. All right, that is all for this video. I will continue experimenting, I don't know if with Cursor, but like with other AI stuff. So feel free to let me know in the comments if you want me to do something specific, or I'm sure there will be an MCP server for like Mule stuff. So I will very probably come here and try it out from Cursor, because I'm really liking Cursor, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to continue using VS Code alone. I think I'm just going to start using Cursor directly because this agent is really useful. It's like a little intern that is telling, like, you're telling it what to do, but you might have to explain some things if it's not like it hasn't done this before. So it's like your little intern, your little assistant. So I like it. You still have to know what you are coding, as you saw, but once you have the rules set for yourself, this will be a way better and painless experience. All right, that is all for this video then. I will see you in the next video. Bye!